shoot, let's hit up my man Roger Goodell, because he was also speaking. I believe this was yesterday when I saw this, man. But yeah, the head honcho of all things NFL was addressing the media. Was talking about the potential of an 18-game schedule. Feel like they always flirt with it, like to bring it up. And this is the way that Roger has brought it up this time. He essentially said that, no, I'm not suggesting or even saying that we've been planning it. But if we did, this is what we'll be considering. 3 factors, essentially. Said obviously the first one being players' health and safety. 17-game season's a long time, he said. So obviously adding an additional game, you have to consider, adding an additional bye week and things like that. Makes sense. Second part he talked about was, having to come to the agreement with the PA, because any type of big changes like that, both the NFL and the NFLPA both have to agree for various reasons, not just from a health standpoint, but also from a compensation standpoint. All of our contracts they were initially set for 1/16 payouts. Then they shifted to 1/17 payouts with the new game. And then if you were to add this 18th, then it would switch to 1/18. Problem is, in terms of the actual dollar amount, it doesn't change. You're just getting more work for the same dollar amount. And that's where you could run into some sticking points, just in the sense of dudes not being willing to, be all the way confident or comfortable with that.
That would be the old contracts.
Correct, yeah. Because when they bumped it to 17 games, if you already had a pre-existing contract, it was already set as is. All the newer deals, you can talk and factor in new money that's more appropriate for 17 games. So that's what you typically run into in terms of this getting green lighted or not from the PA side. That's going to be their big argument. Player health and safety and what that contract is looking like. Because now you telling me if I was going to get paid $1 million for 16 games, now you want 17 games, but I'm still only getting paid $1 million. Now you want 18 games, I'm still getting that same $1 million. And this is before we even talk postseason, where you're playing for almost 80% less than that, right? Just because of how they deem it as a bonus, and this is an extra game, but you still take the same added injury risk and all those other factors. So that's the part where, like I said, I can see the PA just run into a little bit of some static right there. And then the last thing that he brought up was potentially cutting down some of the preseason to make it more appealing for the 18th regular season game. One of the things he brought up was he thinks that it's more just appealing to the audience, right? Nobody or more people would rather watch regular season games than preseason games. As a consumer, I agree. As an alumni, I think it's asinine, because you can't get that, roster being fully complete with the dudes that make out your roster the majority of the times without some of these preseason games. You need these dudes to get out there and get some tape, because not everybody's a first rounder. Not everybody's the marquee free agent. Not everybody was already a Pro Bowl. Some dudes like a Rosie Nix, if there's no training camp, if there's no preseason games, you never hear about this guy. If there's no preseason, there's never Arthur Moses, never a Vince Williams. We can go down the list of these different type of players, right? Even Antonio Brown is a 6th round draft pick. Preseason. These are huge opportunities for people. So the more we continue to cut it down and condense it, the less exposure these guys get, and the more of a challenge it is for them to potentially get another job, right? Whether it's here or even elsewhere when you got that tape out there. So that's the other part from a PA side, where you're going to have some pushback. But the flip side is, would you rather make a game check or would you rather make a preseason check? Game check pay way more than a preseason check. So the internal fight within the PA is going to be that part of, well, if I'm already a dude that doesn't really have to plan the preseason, why should I care about it? But if I'm trying to be the OG that's going to look out for the youth, then that's the argument that you're going to make. You're going to say, bro, them young boys need preseason. If it's me 6, 7, 8, 9, it's like, bro, I'm not tripping on that. Like, does it matter? Sure, but you're not tripping because you've already made your money. You've already kind of established who you are in this league. But if it's years 1, 2, 3, 4, like, even 5, because that was my first year in Pittsburgh. It's like you need those opportunities to kind of introduce yourself or to even reestablish yourself. And the more you cut it down, remember, it used to be 4 games, it's 3 games. He's potentially talking about this thing going on to 2 preseason games, bro. One's a dress rehearsal. So it's like, you're cutting away a lot of these other guys from getting those opportunities to just develop into whatever it may be. Heck, we named it Eli Rogers. Think about Eli, man. We remember Eli making plays here. If you don't got no preseason, man, you never going to hear about Eli Rogers. And like I said, man, those are just a couple of guys off the top of my head that we have seen contribute for us, but have come in this league and have made rosters in very unorthodox type of ways, man. Mike Hilton included.
And I'm really coming around to the preseason recently. I don't know if it's because of what we do for a living now, and like how it's interesting, you know, seeing who's going to make the cut. Is there a preseason darling? There's storylines throughout the preseason. Like, I'm actually like invested in the preseason now. Like, I think it was different before I started doing this and doing the podcast and reacting to Steeler games and stuff like that. Particularly too, at that point we had Big Ben, and
preseason ain't matter when seven's here, bro.
It really did. Yeah, it really did.
It's 7, bro.
Whereas now, ever since 7's left, I mean, we're trying to figure out this quarterback situation. We're trying to figure out some of these young guys, these rookies, like who's going to step up. Like, I don't know. It's become fun to me. So, just from the standpoint of like, I think it helps the NFL product and the whole like 365-day cycle that they're going for. Like, I actually want them to have as many preseason games as they can. Yeah. I'm not saying necessarily go back to 4, but keep it at 3. I don't think it hurts at all. So his statement is like, it's hurting the product? Is that what he's going for? 'Cause I don't think it does.
So the way he looks at it is, he doesn't necessarily verbatim say it hurts the product, but what he's saying is a regular season game is more appealing to the majority of
I'll give you
the
if
fans
you have to
versus
make the decision,
preseason.
if you have to make the trade-off.
So,
but do you have to have the trade-off?
I think for the NFLPA, you're going to have to do something if you want to add another regular season game. And they're just saying, he's saying these are kind of the 3 sticking point areas. Is it you take a preseason game away to add a regular season, or do you keep it as 3 preseason games but you add an 18 game and additional bye week?
You definitely got to do the bye,
right.
I think, no matter what.
Right. So it's like, I can see some pros to keeping the 3rd game and then adding 18, but
because the guys playing in the 18th game probably aren't playing in that extra preseason game, most likely.
Well, in a perfect world, sure. But if we were to say right now, Deke, how many guys would you just look at our roster and say he doesn't have to play in the preseason, he doesn't have to play the preseason, and they all gonna be started? It's like, we don't necessarily feel that. Like, some of these dudes, like, yo, we need to see him, and you're gonna get some of that takes place in these preseason matchups, and those guys could legitimately be the guys that are out there late in the year. But then I also think of typically late in the year, you've had some injuries also. So how do those guys even stay on the roster long enough to get the opportunity to start late in the year? Preseason.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the extension of the regular season games in general. I wasn't a fan of it going to 17. Yeah. I'm not going to be a fan of it going to 18. I'm going to watch.
We ain't going to have a losing season. You know that. We'll just be 10-9. Or excuse me, we'll be 10-8.
I'm not
9-8.
Yeah, I'm not going to act like I'm not going to watch these games. Let's get that straight. But I feel like they had it perfect with the scarcity of 16 games. And then even the 6 teams from each conference making the playoff. I think that was perfect. Like that's what I would want. I'd say go back to that.
But it's too much money out there now, man. And that was the reason why they added it.
So I get what they're going for. I get what they're trying to do here. So if you add the 18th, definitely make sure there's a bye. And I don't think you have to get rid of a preseason game. I wouldn't want that, at least. But I get if that's a sticking point for the NFLPA and something that they feel like they have to do.
Because it's the thing.
But like, I would prefer the extra regular season game over the preseason game. Yes, as a viewer, I'll give you that. But I don't think it has to be an either or.
Nah, respect. I don't think it has to for the viewers. I think for the players, though, they're saying to themselves, man, you're getting more risk. What is the payoff for us? Because that player that has to play in that preseason game, say you got a new coach. And he just is like, yo, I'm old school. Everybody plays. Now it's like you don't even get that luxury. Like, you still taking these risks. And then you still got to go get that 18th game. So it's like, but the money is there, man. The money is there,
flat
man.
Out more money.
Think about this, Deke. They could very well say for the 18th game, every team is going to have a rivalry game. Week 18 is NFL rivalry week in the sense of regional rivalries, not division, regional. So, hey, this is where you play, the Steelers will play the Eagles. All right. We're going to have the Bills play the Browns or something like that. Like wherever we can like start going around and it's like, oh yeah, Chargers, Rams, y'all playing each other. Like that type of look on it. That's an easy sell. That's an easy sell, man. And that's the stuff where I'm just like, yeah, if they start talking like that, it's easy to get money behind that. You already have enough of these different TV networks in terms of Netflix, Peacock, Amazon Prime, where if you wanted to even get exclusive with some of these weeks or some of these games, you kind of got that luxury now. So that's why I'm like, the more they keep flirting with it, the more we keep hearing it, even how he's talking about it here. Hey, we haven't had a real plan, but these are the things. It's the soft rollout. It's the, let me just keep flirting it out. Let me just see what y'all thinking of, how y'all responding to this thing, man. Because this is how the 17 games started. Hey, we're not planning for 17 games. No. But if we did, we would probably do this. Maybe we would add that. But hey, we haven't talked about no, nothing concrete, nothing yet. And then come negotiation time, it's like, oh, bam, here's the rollout. You're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I don't buy that. This is just something in the back of their mind, and it's like if it happens, it happens. No, I do think they are planning on going to 18 games. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
This has been something they've been planning, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years.
Bro, they won at 18 games.
Yeah, they got the 17.
Back when I was playing, they was trying to get them. We was like, yo, 7, 8. When they said 8, we say, bro, let alone how you can get to 17. Then these dudes let them get 17 for some weed. You seen it? Yeah, y'all thought Pouncey was lying. Pouncey called them all out. Shout out to the homie, man. He say, bro, if you about to add another game so you can smoke weed, you're an idiot.
That was the trade-off.
Yes, that was the trade-off. It was like, yep. It's like, oh, God.
So is the preseason game the only trade-off now, or is there another thing that they could be pointing to?
Yeah, because the whole argument that I'm sure some people might say is, well, what about guaranteed contracts? There is no rule against guaranteed contracts. Kirk Cousins has had guaranteed contracts. It's just the way that the NFL has went about it, they traditionally have not done it, and we don't have enough players that are willing to fight tooth and nail to take hard stances to really shift that dynamic. So that's why when a Kirk Cousins, did his 3 for 80, I think it was like 3 for 87 fully guaranteed, it was very different, but the number also was different. Usually we want to see 5 for $150 right at quarterback, or 5 for $250, right? And you're like, how much is guaranteed? Only 100, but it just looks good. So it's nothing, like I said, that would hinder that from still happening if people wanted to take that approach. In terms of what else you want on the table.
Yeah, what are players looking for right now? If that's what the owners are looking for,
so look,
obviously they want the 18th game.
Players always are going to say, man, if you can get more money, more rest, right? So if we can condense or cut down even more off-season stuff, that's always big because guys love their free time. Guys don't want to have to come to OTAs all the time. That was why it was such a big ordeal. I know when we went through the fight in 2011 or 2010, going into the 2011 year, that lockout, the whole argument was, well, what are we willing to give up? What aren't we willing to give up? And we said that, man, we were tired of your rookie year. Well, my rookie year, if it was a bye week, if a coach didn't want you to leave, he would schedule a practice on Saturday. Or schedule practice on Sunday. You'd be like, hey, man, I got Monday off, I got Friday off, but I got to be here on Saturdays. Like, where can I go? Whereas now, on bye week, it's mandatory. After Thursday, you got the whole weekend off. Same with OTAs. After Thursday, bro, you off for the weekend. But that's the type of stuff that I think that they might try to fight, try to get more of that maybe. But financially, it's hard because everything is individually based contracts. I know another thing that we fought for in our fight was benefits for alumni, right? The retired guys, not the guys that were 10 and 20 years old. We're talking like the dudes from like the 70s, because at the time, their health insurance wasn't what it was supposed to be. Their benefits and resources weren't what they're supposed to be. So that was one of our fights. That's maybe something, but the hard part, and this is the fight that we fought even then, is, Deke, you're 21, 22, 23 with millions, right? Hey, I'm telling you, hey, you need to cut some of that, not just for you, not for your retirement, not for your pension, but for them dudes that played 30, 40 years ago that set the foundation, and we all are kind of standing on each other's backs and shoulders to go further and further. That's a hard ass for young cats, man, with a lot of money that are thinking about everything but that.
And some of the young dudes are probably even think to themselves, like, I don't even know if I'm
gonna
be
play
making it here for another year or two. Like, I got to get as much as I can right now.
So that's that. I remember that was a big sticking point for us. I mean, that was a big sticking point even in terms of when dudes make the roster, right? In terms of trying to get them to invest. Man, go 401k, go do these type of things. And it's dudes are so caught up in the right now because at 21, 22, you're not thinking about when you're 40, 50. But it's like in the NFL, man, your shelf life is 2.5 years. So it's like all of it kind of goes hand in hand. So I was like, I get it. But in terms of what the NFLPA side could be asking for, trying to fight for, I think it could shift a little bit more to that. But I don't really see a big like hot topic anymore because that used to be the whole marijuana part of it.
Right.
And now that's been
that in
changed,
the 17th game, really.
Yeah. It's like, what else?
What was it back in 2010 when there was like that pseudo little holdout throughout the offseason?
No. That wasn't a hold. It was a lockout because we couldn't agree with them. They couldn't agree with us. Back then, our argument was they wanted to add a game. We wanted to cut down
so they wanted that game.
Yeah,
that was 2010, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've been wanting to do that. They wanted to get to 17 games then, and we were like, nah. And that was the whole sticking point with the lockout. So essentially, I think we argued about the off-season like availability. It was something with benefits for, like I said, the super like 60s, 70s type NFL players. And what was our final thing? We had one other like benefits type thing because I remember saying to myself going into my second year, it was like, yo, I couldn't tell what was any different outside of what we like the amount of time we had to be there in the off season. And whenever it was like a free weekend or something, it was like, yo, we actually got the whole weekend now versus I got to be home Saturday or I got to be here Sunday. So that was the big changes. But 10 years removed, the big change obviously in 21 was the marijuana part. Cut down the threshold for marijuana, bump up the added game, cut down a preseason game. Everybody go ahead and play. I think an argument that they could make is everybody has to have grass fields. I think that could work.
That'd be a good one.
I think that could go. Something that should have already been the case. But if you want to bring something to the table and say, hey, you want us to go out there for 18 games, well, how about you make sure these facilities on the field are exactly what we feel gives us the best for our careers to be elongated. By adding another game, we did the numbers on it during the lockout and in 2011. It's like if you add one regular season game, we start doing the math on a 2 or 3 year span. It's like, bro, that preseason game doesn't do anything compared to what this extra one game does for that player and how it could ultimately cut down their career span behind it. And it's just like, that's going to always be the argument for adding more games. If you're going to add more, you need to do something that's going to make us feel like we're not getting, jet, because for the NFL, it benefits them for the quick turnover. They don't want the dudes to stay 5, 7, 10 years. I got to pay these dudes.
Yeah.
If I keep you every 2 years and you gone, number one, the fans only love the team. They're not going to love you guys and revolt and back you guys up. And then the second part is I'm always going to have cheap labor. And then we throw this salary cap over top of it. So now we can get the players to even say, hey, should we pay Najee or should we pay Cam? He got billions. But should we pay Najee? Should we pay Cam? 5 mil, 10 mil to the B. And that's, the whole salary cap and how everything has been structured to work. I mean, it's dope. Shout out to the NFL. The business is beautiful. And that's why, in the words of AB, is booming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when is the next bargaining agreement up?
So this is the thing. For the 18 games, from what I've seen, they're not necessarily trying to wait to the next collective bargaining agreement because the next bargaining agreement would be in 10 years from the last one. So 21 to 31. Previous one was in 11. So they still would have another, 6, 7 years left on the deal that they just signed 3 years ago in 21. But what they are able to do is essentially if both parties, PA and NFL, agree, you can make an amendment.
Sure.
And that's how they flirt with these type of things. But if an amendment can't get done, then ultimately you got to wait till the next CBA agreement, which will come up, like I said, in 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they want to wait that long.
Exactly. So like, yeah. Hence the reason why you see them flirt these concepts out. You hear it talked about at the owners' meetings. You hear it talked about, it's Super Bowl and stuff. Oh, what they flirting again? 18 games. Oh, all right. They're just talking about it. Nothing serious. We're just having a conversation. It's casual.